Good morning and welcome to my podcast. My name is Ella, and in this podcast, I will be sharing with you stories of strength, survival, and healing. Again, my name is Ella, and I'm a domestic violence survivor. I am no longer a victim, but I am victorious. I am a survivor. And this podcast is dedicated to all women and men all around the world who have survived domestic violence, whether you are an ally or a survivor that are seeking hope. You are in the right place. In today's podcast, I want to be talking about the storms. Are you in the storm season in your life? Because see, when you're in a storm, or you're in the storm season, because all seasons have different type of weather, right? You have winter, you have summer, you have fall, and you have spring. And all of the seasons bring something different. But when we're talking about the storms in life, we're talking about things that happen in your life, right? And there's a favorite quote that says, "Not all storms come to destroy your life. They come to clear your path," suggesting that those difficult times and challenges that you go through can be very painful, but it can ultimately lead to positive growth and to have a clear direction in which you want to go in your life. So not all storms are meant to ruin you and destroy you. Some storms, instead of being destructive, these storms can remove obstacles and reveal new opportunities that were previously hidden behind the storms. See, sometimes when we are in the midst of a storm, and we all know how a storm is, right? It's very windy, it's rainy, it's cloudy, and it gives a blur to our vision. So we can't see behind that blur, behind that cloud, behind, all the rain. But once it clears up, then we can see the beauty in the world. We can see the flowers, we can see the trees, we can see the people, we can see the buildings, we can see a lot of things. But in that storm, and I'm talking about a very strong storm, sometimes you can't even see in front of your face, right? When you're driving, have you ever been driving on the highway and that rain is just beating down on your window, the glass, and you have to keep on doing the window wiper to be able to clear your vision so that you can see the road? And sometime when you're driving, that could be the most hardest time when there's a storm. You have to be very, very careful in a storm. But when you finally get to your destination, and sometimes it happens like that, once you reach to your destination after all of this rain and all of this storm, finally that rain stops and now there's sunshine. And you're like saying to yourself, wow, after I done went through all of this, and now as soon as I get to my destination, now it's sunny and it's clear. See, that's how sometimes our visions are. Sometimes our visions are not clear in life. Sometimes people that you're around, they can blur your vision. They can blur your vision of your dreams, your goals, and where you want to be. That's why you have to be careful as to who you choose to be around. If you are around negative people, guess what? You're going to be negative. If you're gossiping, if you're around people that gossip, you're going to gossip. If you're around people that don't have nothing going for themselves, every day, all they do is get on the phone and gossip about somebody else, guess what? That's what your life is going to be like. But if you surround yourself around people that have something going for themselves, if you watch podcasts like mine's, or just a positive podcast, it don't have to be mine's, you find yourself gravitating more to positivity. For you guys to show up every morning, apparently you must be getting something from watching my video, right? And the more you put in positivity, the more you're going to start creating a path for your life. Even if you're on a negative path now, good morning. Even if you're on a negative path now, good morning, say 22. Appreciate you joining me on today. And if you are not careful about the people that you keep in your circle, you will find yourself going down the same path that they're going down. Even though you may not want to, but you will. And that's why they say, be careful about the company that you keep. Be careful about the circle that you're in, because it can have an impact on your life. It can blur your vision. You guys need to share this. Share this with your family and your friends. It's so very important to understand that all storms comes not to destroy you, but it comes to clear your path. If you're going through something right now on today, understand that too shall pass. Understand that this storm that you may have in your life today, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Understand that this storm right here is only a path for you, for the greatness. When I was going through my storms in life, and as you guys know, for those of you that don't know me, I am a domestic violence survivor. I was in a 20-year crucial, brutal domestic violent marriage over 20-something years ago. And I'm here to talk about it. That was my storm. And I went through many storms in my life, right? I went through many storms in my life. But when I was going through those storms for 20-something years, it didn't seem like it was ever going to end, right? It was storm after storm after storm. And all I could do sometimes is just stand to my window and just watch it rain, in a sense. And I'm not talking about it raining outside. I'm talking about it raining on my life. Watching the storms come back to back to back in my life. Oh, don't be sorry. I'm here to talk about it. You know, storms are here, and it's meant for us to grow. It's meant for us to have a testimony. If we don't have a story, then how can we have a testimony? And I'm one of the blessed ones that are here to talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not being sorry for me, because I have learned a lesson that I would have never learned if I wouldn't have went through it. You understand what I'm saying? How to respect myself, how to love myself, how to appreciate me, how to treat me, and how to make others treat me. If I didn't go through these storms, if I wouldn't have went through that storm of being in a domestic violent relationship, I still wouldn't know how to love me. I would have gotten more bad relationships. So God just gave me one hard one and said, you learned from this. And even though it was 20 years of brutal, and when I say brutal, domestic violence, and I'm here to talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? God, instead of giving me little increments of bad relationships, God knew that I was that soldier that can be able to withstand any storm. So God said, listen, I'm going to give you the hardest one. Some people will get little ones in increments. You get a month of bad relationships, then you turn around and get 6 months, and then maybe you'll get a week, and then maybe you'll get 6 months, or, like that. But God said to me, I am going to give you the hardest battle because I know that you're a soldier. And I know that you're not going to fold. And I know that you're going to learn. And I know that you're going to tell your story. See, that's the difference between me and a lot of people. People could not have survived what I survived. When I tell you, it was times where I didn't want to be here. When I was going through my domestic violence survivor. My children is the only ones that still got me still here. Because I felt I had to live for my children. You understand what I'm saying? I felt like my kids depended on me to be strong, not only for them, but to be strong for myself. And that's the only thing that have me sitting here today. Because it been times where I just wanted to check out. It was that bad. It was that bad. For your husband, someone that you have married, right, stood up in front of, it wasn't a lot of people because we did the justice of the peace, but stood up in front of God and said, I would love this woman for the rest of my life. I would appreciate this man for the rest of my life. And for him to abuse me the way he did, and I was nothing but loving, caring. I was a mother. I was a wife. I was a slave. You understand what I'm saying? I was a punching bag. I was someone that, he took his frustration out verbally. If you name it, I went through it. Any type of domestic violence you name, I can tell you. Been there, done that. And that's why I'm so passionate with telling people my story, because I don't want no one to have to go through what I went through. You understand what I'm saying? It was one night that he came in high, right? And it was late at night because he always hung out. I was home taking care of the house, taking care of the children and everything like that. And there was one night that he came in very late in the morning. It was maybe about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had already done cooked dinner, fed the kids, put away the food. And I was getting ready to go to bed because I was the breadwinner. I was getting ready to go to bed and get my rest for the next day. And he came in about maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was already asleep. So he comes in, and he wakes me up. And he never called me by my name. He never said, how you may have a pet name for your significant other. He never had that for me. He never called me Ella. He never had a pet name for me. He used to speak to me like as if he was speaking to his boys on the corner. But not in front of my family. He called me by my name in front of my family. But whenever we was behind closed doors, you know what he called me? He spoke to me like as if he was speaking to his homeboy on the streets, his wife. He said, yo. Anytime he wanted something from me, he said, yo. Like as if I was his boy. I was his homeboy from the streets. That's the way he treated his wife. That's the way he treated, the mother of his children. You understand what I'm saying? And so back to the story, he comes in And he says to me, he hunches me. I'm already asleep. And he says, make me some dinner. Now, mind you, like I said, it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, a.m. I had already done put the food away. I had his plate on the stove, but I didn't want to leave it out all night because I didn't know what time he was coming in. All he had to do was go in the refrigerator. We had a microwave, pop it in the microwave. If he respected his wife, he would have tried to keep it silent and not wake me up, you know? But no, this is the way he treated me. And he said, yo, get up and make me something to eat. And I'm like, I gotta get up to go to work tomorrow. And I turned over and I put the cover on me, and he kept pulling the cover off of me. He kept pulling it off of me, and it was cold winter time, right? And he kept pulling the cover off of me, and I still wouldn't get up. I turned over, I laid down. So this jokester gets in the bed. And you know the next thing that he does? To his wife, to the mother of his kids, he kicked me out of the bed like as if I was an animal. And he wouldn't let me get back in the bed. This is what he did to his wife. This is what he did to the mother of his children. I was treated worse than a stray animal on the street by my ex-husband. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to talk about it. You guys need to share this because I don't want no one else to have to go through any type of abuse, even if it's just verbally, because it's going to lead up to the same thing like what he did, or even worse. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Y'all need to share things like these. These are the things that you need to share. Because the way I was treated was worse than a stray animal on the street by my ex-husband. So I was so upset. He wouldn't let me get back in the bed. Every time I got in the bed, he kicked me out the bed. And this dude was bigger than me, right? He was powerful than me. He was older than me. And I got up and I was so sad. I mean, when I was sad, I was so sad. I went in the kitchen. I heated up his food. I brought it back to him. And then after he finished eating, he turned over and went to sleep. No good night, no thank you, no kisses, no nothing. This is the way that jokester treated his wife. And all I could do was cry. All I could ask God is why. And every time I asked God why, God would say, why not? And at the time, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that God was asking me, why not? Because I didn't know that God was preparing me for something. I didn't know that God was showing me something. I didn't know that I was going to be one of God's soldiers. I didn't know that. At the time, I was just asking myself, why? Why me? What have I ever done in my life to deserve this type of treatment? And God said to me, why not? I didn't understand it. I started sometimes even believing that there wasn't a God. You understand what I'm saying? And I never wanted to get to that point, but that's how I was starting to feel. And I used to say, Lord, what have I ever done? Forgive me for what I have ever done to deserve this. And sometimes you have to understand that it's not even you that done something. You could be suffering from what your ancestors done. Come on, y'all, on today. Something that your mother might have done, your father might have done, your grandparents might have done, your great grandparents might have done. You could be suffering. You could be going through something that they did, and you paying the price because somebody got to pay the price. God chose me. God chose me. You understand what I'm saying? And some of you guys may not believe it, but I believe it. Because I know I was 17 years old at the time. There's nothing that I could have ever done to deserve the treatment that I got for 20 years. Nothing. So it had to be coming from somewhere else. It had to be coming from my generation before me that might have done something that I was paying for. It had to be. I don't believe that I could have done anything that bad that made me have to suffer for 20 years. Except that God was preparing me for today. God was preparing me for today. And sometimes people's storms, like when you look at storms, sometimes storms would last about a half an hour, 45 minutes a day. If you go up in the woods somewhere, sometimes it lasts for a couple days, 2 days, 3 days. But imagine you having to go through a storm for 20 years. Just imagine. I'm talking about a brutal storm. I'm talking about the treacherous winds and the rains and the hail and, imagine you had to go through that for years, not hours, not days, not weeks, but years. And I had to raise 3 kids. I had to raise 3 kids while going through my storm. I have to be powerful. I have to be God's soldier. I have to be. There's no way. God have given me the strength that I needed to survive everything that I survived. So when you say about storms is meant to hurt you, it's not. It have taught me a lot. It has taught me who I am. It have taught me that I am powerful. It have taught me that I'm a survivor. It have taught me that, people in this world is cruel and evil, and sometimes you just get caught up in it. And people don't understand that, a lot of people ask, and I keep getting this question over and over and over, why 20 years? Why did you stay so long? You don't have no idea what it's like being in an abusive relationship. No idea. If you can ask that question, then that means you never was in it and you don't even understand it. And I can't even explain it. I can't even explain it because they're very manipulative. They're a gaslighter. They're narcissists. And when you're dealing with people that are narcissists, you're dealing with someone that's really, really, really dangerous. They would take something and flip it around with the blink of a finger and flip it right back on you. And you didn't even, and you find yourself believing what they're saying. That's what a narcissist does. And you'll at the end of the day, you'll start believing that it's your fault. Everything is your fault. Even though you know it's not. But if you tell yourself something over and over and over and over and over again, or if someone is telling you something over and over and over and over again, you start to believe it. Your brain is like a program, right? Like you program your computer. Your brain is a computer. So whatever you put in there and you keep on downloading it is going to pick it up. At some point in time, I believe that it was my fault. I believe that if I would have took all the wrinkles out of the bed when I made up the bed, I wouldn't have got punched in the eye. And I can laugh at it today. I can laugh at it today because I'm not there no more. You start to believe that if you would have made a different vegetable, then you wouldn't have got cussed out because maybe he didn't like spinach. And like I was supposed to know that. I was just trying to be a wife. I was just trying to be a wife. I didn't know that because that spinach was on that plate, that was a crime. I didn't know that because that spinach was on that plate was going to be tossed at me because I was trying to be a wife. Y'all don't understand. And y'all would never understand because you was never in that type of relationship. So when you question the fact of why, I can't even explain it to you. The only people that really knows is the ones that was in the mix of it. It was one day that me and my sister and, a couple of my family members had went out, right? And, I was on a time schedule with my husband, with my ex-husband, right? If I told him that I was going to be home at a certain time, I needed to be walking in that door at the time, right? Or there was a price to be paid. And sometimes people don't understand that, when you're in that type of relationship, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, right? So I was hanging out with my sisters and I had to go. And they're like, oh, why you gotta go? Why you gotta go? Why you gotta go? And I'm like, because I gotta go. Oh, your husband gonna beat you up? Your husband gonna beat you up? And they were saying it as a joke. But I knew that I was going to get an ass whipping if I wasn't in the house at a certain time. See, they didn't know, but I knew that there was going to be consequences if I didn't get my ass in the house at a certain time. And so one of my sisters took my wedding band, right? And she was playing around. She was like, "Oh, you ain't leaving," and she slipped my wedding band off of my hand. And I'm telling her, give me my ring. There's no way I could go in that house without my ring. The first thing he's going to think is that I took my ring off to get with somebody else. That's in his crazy head. Thank you for sharing. See, that's the crazy thing about it. So she slipped my ring off. She's like, oh, you're not going home. You're not going home, right? And I'm like, listen, I can't go home without my ring. She was like, well, if you want to go, go. And she's playing around and I'm getting very upset and I'm getting very agitated. And she's like, why are you getting so agitated about the ring? And I'm like, I can't go home without my wedding ring. What is he going to do? Kill you? You have nailed it right there on the dime. She didn't know it. But I wouldn't be here talking to you today if I'd have came home without my wedding band. Because he probably would have. And so I started crying and I started like really begging her, please give me my ring. See, people don't understand. People don't understand what you go through behind closed doors. They have no clue. Right? And so I was late coming home. And even though I was late coming home and I got the riffraff, I had my ring. Because it would have been far worse if I'd have came home without my ring. So people don't understand that in these type of relationships, you are afraid to leave. It's fear of your life. Because you don't know what this person is going to do. Right? So it was one time that I really kind of got fed up with staying, and I had packed me and my kids' clothes and I put the suitcase under my kids' bed, right? And then I took the kids to school. And I came home and I was going to wait until he go out, right? Because he always hung out. I waited for him to go out. And then I was going to pick the kids up and just leave then. But when I came from dropping the kids off to school, he had found the suitcases underneath the kid's bed. And he had opened up the suitcases, right? And he seen that I had only packed my stuff and the kids' stuff. And he was furious. Now, I don't know if I could say what he did on live, but if it wasn't for God saving me that day, I wouldn't be here. Right? And so, because I don't want to get restricted. So there's certain things I probably can't say, you know, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to give y'all the whole picture of what this whole thing looks like. So when y'all say just leave, I'm gonna show you that it's not that easy to just leave. Okay? I'm gonna let you know that. So he opened up the suitcase. He saw the suitcase that was packed and none of his stuff was in it. He said, "Where's my stuff?" or whatever. And I said, "Well, I didn't get a chance to pack your stuff yet." And he said, "So you think I'm stupid?" And I said, "No. I just didn't get a chance to pack your stuff. I was going to pack your stuff today." See, they're not stupid neither. They like one step ahead of you. And so he always had a firearm in the house, right? And that was one of the reasons why I was afraid, because I didn't know if he was going to use it or not, right? So that was one of the reasons why I was always afraid to make a move to leave. And so he goes and get the firearm, right? And I hope I'm not restricted for saying this. I'm just trying to paint a picture to you guys of the hell that I went through. And I'm here to talk about it. And you guys need to share this. Share this with your family and your friends. And so he went to go get the firearm, and it was a revolver. You guys know about firearms. It was a revolver. And he said, "If you're leaving me, I have nothing to lose." Right? He said, "If you're leaving me and you're taking my kids, I have nothing to lose." And he took the firearm, he took the revolver, and he put one shell in it, right? And he spun it around. For those of you guys that know about a revolver, right? He spun it around, and he said, "If you meant to live, you'll live, and if you meant to die, you'll die. Today." Right? And he put it to my head, and he pulled the trigger. And I'm here today because of God's grace and mercy. Because I was meant to be here to tell my story. I was meant to be here to tell my story. It wasn't in a chamber. And that's why I'm here. See, y'all don't understand when people go through things, they go through things for a reason. Right? And he said, if I was meant to be here, I'll be here. And if I was meant to be gone, I was meant to be gone. Well, God said, God have the last say. God said, you will live and not die. And that's the only reason why I'm sitting here today. Because God knew that I had a mission to fulfill. God knew that he was giving me an assignment to fulfill. God told me, you will live and you will not die. Can you imagine someone is holding a firearm to your head and telling you that you are going to live or you're going to die? And then pulls the trigger and you live? Could you imagine that? So when you start to ask, why did you stay for that long? This is one of the reasons why I stayed for that long. Out of fear of my life. Out of fear of my children's life. See, because these people don't play no games. They don't play no games. Okay? You leave, they will hunt you down. They will hunt you down like you're a prey. And that's what I was afraid of. That's what I was afraid of. You know, he have taken me away from my family. He have taken me away from my friends. He have taken me away from everybody that I love. I had nobody except my kids. That's all I had to live for was my children. But one thing he didn't do was I would always visit my mom, right? That he wasn't going to take. You would have had to kill me. I was going to visit my mom. But every time I visit my mom, I would come home to his shenanigans. Right? What was you doing out there? Who was you talking to? He started questioning the kids about what was they doing. Did I leave them? All of this nonsense. And that's why I stayed for 20 years. But at some point in time, I think that with my son, if you guys don't know, I had a set of twins, a boy and a girl, and my son passed away. God rest his soul, right? And he was about maybe 10 at the time when I left my ex-husband. And one day I don't fight. I wasn't fighting. You know, one day he was abusing me, rather, right? And my kids was in a room. And so my son always showed up, even though he could not. I couldn't fight back. I could not fight back. You know, you want me to be here or not? Listen, Miss Ebony, it's more harder than you think. If you just heard what I said, if I fought back, I wouldn't be here. See, sometimes you have to make the decisions that is more safer for you. You can't just go by what somebody tell you to do, because that could be your life. You understand what I'm saying? So when somebody tell you to just leave, just go, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. We're talking about the life of myself and the life of my children. And I was going to do everything everything in my power that I had to do to save us. Well, one of the things that made me actually open up my eyes and leave was because, thank you for sharing. I appreciate the shares. He was abusing me at the time, and my son always showed up for me, even though he was young. And the girls, I guess they was more afraid. But one thing about my boys, they gonna show up. And even though he couldn't fight his dad, but he showed up, and he would always show his presence, right? And after, he did whatever he did to me, and I was in the kitchen, trying to prepare dinner for them, and I was crying. And my son looked at me. He said, Mommy, I'm sorry that Daddy did that to you. I'm sorry that Daddy made you cry. And he said, one day, I'm not going to let Daddy hurt you, because I'm going to blank him. And you know what that means. And at that moment, I said, a switch light came on and said, it's time for you to go. Because now you're talking about a 10-year-old offing his dad for his mother. Right? And so I said, it's time. No matter what happens to me, it's time. It's time to get my babies out of this situation before it's a situation where my son is going to prison for life for offing his dad. So I said, it's time to go. And that's what made me decide one day to stand up for myself and to stand up for my kids and to get out of this situation. Was it hard? It was damn hard. But it wasn't as hard as I thought. It wasn't as hard as I thought. But listen, if you listen to the backstory of it, right? All of the stuff he did, all the threats he threatened, right? And he also, like I said, he had a firearm in the house, right? So I didn't know that what he could have did. Sometimes you wake up and see the news and you see that somebody have off their whole family. I didn't want to be that family. Excuse me for staying for 20 years because I wanted to live. Even though I wasn't living, but I'm living now. So excuse me for wanting to live and staying in it for 20 years. At least I'm here to talk about it. Because you don't know the minds of these people. You don't know whether their word is going to be their bond. If they say they're going to do something, you don't know if they're going to do it or they ain't. And I wasn't willing to take the chance. Until my son told me that, I said, you know what? It's time to go. It's time to go. Because I didn't want my son sitting in prison for the rest of his life. And that's how I got out. My son gave me the strength. Before he died, because he died at 13 years old, but before he passed away, he gave me the strength to get out of this toxic, abusive relationship. That was his mission. See, everybody is here for a reason and a season, honey. Everybody is here for a reason and a season. And I guess my son has solved his purpose of being here, which was to save me. Because he drowned on a trip, a school trip, right? But his purpose, maybe in life, was to be here to save me. Sometimes we don't understand why things are the way it is, but sometimes it is. Sometimes we are here for a reason and a season. And I didn't understand. I said, Lord, why you take my baby away from me? Just when we are able to live a happy life, now my baby got to die in order for me to live. In order for me to live, my baby had to die. But he saved me before he died. Y'all not understanding me on today. Because maybe if my son wasn't here, I would have continued this cycle of being in abusive relationships. You never know. You never know. See, God have a funny way of putting people into your life for a reason. And I believe that everybody here is here for a reason and a season. What's your reason? And is your season up? Well, whatever it is that you're going through, is your season up now? Is it time for you to live? Sometimes we have to sacrifice things. Sometimes we have to sacrifice. If you watch how animals have their babies, right? You look at puppies, you look at cats, or any kind of animals that have multiple amount of babies, right? They have to sacrifice killing some of their babies in order to let some of them live, because all of them can't be nurtured, right? If you know about animals, all of them, if they have about 6 litters of babies or 10 litters of babies, some of them have to be sacrificed their lives so that the other ones can live. So the mother would kill some of the babies so that she are able to nurture the ones that she can. Life is about sacrificing. Sacrificing your happiness. Sacrificing your peace. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, we are not animals. Of course we're not animals. But sometimes we have to sacrifice. You know? And so I had to sacrifice my life. And my son, you know, even though he passed away a few years after I got out of that abusive marriage, he saved me. He gave me the strength. I loved my babies more than I loved myself at the time. And so I was willing to say, you know what? I'm not going to let my son do this so that he could go to prison. I'm going to save my baby. Even though I couldn't save myself, I'm going to save my son. And that's what I did. That's what I did. And so when you see that quote about storms, these times can be very, very hard times, the storms that you go through. But they are a clear path. Clearing the path sometimes can be dangerous, Sometimes it can be long, but that storm is a forced shift to remove what's no longer serving a person that purpose or growth. This could involve shedding old habits, right? Beliefs, or leaving those relationships that is no longer beneficial to you. You know? New opportunities. By removing these obstacles, the storms can reveal a clear path forward, one that may lead to new opportunities and growth and better understanding of yourself, who you are, and what's your purpose in life. Resilience and growth. The ability to navigate the weather and storm of your life. Even though it's difficult, it can build resilience and a stronger sense of yourself. You start learning what you're going to tolerate, what you're not going to tolerate. You start setting boundaries. You start setting rules. You start realizing that you come first. You don't put everybody before you, even your children. I had to realize that even my children don't come before me, because if I'm down, then they're down. You are number one. You are number one, because if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of nobody. It's like a domino effect. If one domino falls, they all falls. So you have to take care of yourself first. Purpose and transformation. The ultimate goal about storms is that the storms are just setbacks for your come-ups. Did you hear what I said? Sometimes storms are there for a setback for you to come up. Right? But can be transformative, a force that guides you towards a more purposeful and fulfilled life. Listen, I hope that this message resonated from you guys, from me to you. I hope that you got something from it. If it's just one thing that you got from this live today, I will hope that you will share it, because it's so critical that people understand what domestic violence is and understand that everybody has a purpose here in life, and that all storms are not meant to take you out. If you're going through something on today, I promise you that too shall pass. I want to thank each and every last one of you guys for your support, for joining me, for continually joining me and understanding. And I hope that you got a clearer picture of the reason, that's one of the reasons, that's the major reason why I stayed 20 years, because I didn't know what this jokester was going to do. And I wanted my life. You know, even though I wasn't living, but I value my life. So take what you can from this video, share it. Most of all to your family and your friends, because knowledge is power. You said you didn't understand most of the crazy story. Okay. If you didn't understand the crazy story, I apologize for that, Ebony. Maybe this page is not for you. Maybe this podcast is not for you. Maybe you should go elsewhere if you didn't understand it. Okay? It's not a story. This is my life I'm talking about. So I will be blocking you, Ebony, because this is not a joke. When you're talking about people's life, it's not a joke. So you will be getting blocked right now. Okay? And anybody else on here that thinks that my story, my life, my situation is a joke, you will be getting blocked. because it's not a joke. I'm here to teach someone. I'm here to show someone. I'm here to educate someone. I'm here to inspire someone. And if you, want to come up here and joke about things, maybe one day you'll have to go through it and see and understand what it's really like to be abused. I hope not. But again, guys, share this to your family and your friends. So I just want to take this time out to thank you guys for supporting me. If you found this episode of this podcast beneficial to you, subscribe to my channel. Also, write a review, write a message, and share with someone that you know who might need it, because your voice can help others find hope. I love you guys so very much, and I thank you, each and every last one of you, for your support. Until next time, pray for me as well as I pray for you. Peace. Ooh, my nose.